FC Barcha vs Bastard München is the match that kicked off the Neo-Egoist League. And to be real with you, there are just way too many insane goals in this league alone that could easily be called some of the craziest goals in all of Blue Lock. So hold on tight, because starting with Bachara's Jenga X Monster, we'll introduce you to every egoistic goal in the Neo-Egoist League. And by the end, explain the game-breaking play that literally breaks Nagi's chance to stay at the top 23 final rankings. You see, during the match between FC Barcha and Bastard München, Bachara got a bit of an awakening. Thanks to the results of his own training and Lavigno's advice on how to evolve his monster, Bachara entered the upgraded version of his monster trance, the Jenga X Monster. With this more disciplined dribbling style, Bachara takes on Kunigami one-on-one. And right after he gets past him, he passes the ball to Ignacio Lara. Then, he and Lara link up with Otoya. Thanks to Otoya's sneaky off-the-ball moves and their smooth tiki-taka passing, Otoya sends one final pass to Bachara, who finishes it off with his B shot. This right here is an insane FC Barcha-style chemical reaction. We're going full chronological mode for this video, guys, and up next is the fastest shot in the world. We're talking about Kaiser's Kaiser Impact. Right after Bachara scores, Kaiser gets fired up and wants to score too. Once the game restarts, this guy just turns to Ness and gives him one simple command: execution. And Ness already knows what that means. Kaiser starts breaking through defenders while Ness holds the ball and slips past a few FC Barcha players himself. Then, Ness launches his illusion cross. Kaiser traps the ball and kicks it right away, so fast that it catches everyone off guard. It's so quick that even Isagi immediately thinks Kaiser is a genius for pulling off that play. But spoiler alert, he's not. The match is really heating up now, and so is the battle between Bachara and Kaiser. But Lavigno? He doesn't care about any of that. He jumps onto the field, ready to steal the spotlight for himself. Around this time, Noah also enters the game, and yep, Isagi joins too, for some good old fan service. The matchup between Noah and Lavigno is literally called the Duel of Gods from different worlds, and it's a stalemate because Noah cannot immediately outplay Lavigno's high-level dribbling. During that duel, however, there's one player who made a mistake. Isagi entered into their space to create a 2-on-1 situation, not knowing that this is exactly what Lavigno wanted. Lavigno rainbow flicks, uses Isagi as a wall to slip past Noah, and then goes full showtime. He pulls off his dance of defeat, breaking ankles left and right as he weaves through Bastard München's defense. Even the goalkeeper gets toyed with before Lavigno kicks the ball in like he's putting on a show. But Noah won't accept such defeat. Soon after Lavigno's goal, he linked up with Kaiser and Ness to score the second goal for Bastard München. Noah uses his machine dribbling style to break through FC Barcha with Kaiser and Ness. Even with Lavigno and his top defenders guarding him, Noah smoothly uses their own moves to his advantage with the use of both his legs, which, by the way, packs the exact same power as if they're both his dominant feet. Then, Noah kicks the ball into the goal. With this, Noah and Lavigno's time is up, so Kunigami enters the match once again. But this one is a bit tricky. You see, this match is the first time we see Kunigami's new specs and playstyle as the lone survivor of the wildcard program. Prior to this point, he had already tried to score with a mid-range right-footed shot, but it was blocked by FC Barcha's goalkeeper. Even Isagi wanted to score his first Neo-Egoist goal too. But even after hijacking Ness's pass to Kaiser, Isagi hit a wall. He got quickly blocked, and so came another chance. Once again, Isagi steals a pass, this time from Benedict Grimm to Ness, and now he abandons his goal. Isagi fakes a shot against Bachara, and this opens up for a pass to Kunigami, who then scores with his hero's lefty shot. Even Noah is surprised watching it from the sidelines. What's more, this shot sealed the deal and gave Bastard München the victory for the match. Still, Kunigami doesn't look too happy. He didn't want to owe Isagi anything, and he's not thrilled that even Isagi seems to have fallen off as a striker. This one's short, but right after the Bastard München vs FC Barcha match, we get a quick look at Ren's winning shot against Ubers. At this point, the international players aren't really fleshed out yet. Even Paris X-Jin is running a different setup from their usual Ren or Shido-centered styles. In this match, both Ren and Shido are still playing together instead of taking turns. Looks like Loki is still figuring out what kind of system works best for Paris X-Jin. Chigiri's 44-degree Panther Snipe is the first goal in the match between Manshine City and Bastard München. During Manshine's initial training, Chigiri focused on improving his physical specs, centering technique, and applying Chris Prince's ideals and body revolution to build his own golden zone. Chigiri's target is a spot 19 meters from the goal and 44 degrees to the left. From a complete stop, he cuts in at top speed and breaks through the Bastard München defenders, even Isagi and Kunigami. Once in his zone, Chigiri cuts in again and delivers a controlled strike aimed at the corner of the goal. This led to one of the coldest lines in the series: "Your evolution's slow, Blue Lockers." Later in the match, Augie sets up a perfect pass for Nagi, but Kaiser reads the play and perfectly intercepts it. From there, it's time for a counter. Kaiser and Ness rush forward, moving with perfect timing and not wasting a second. All the while, Kaiser is scanning the field with metavision. Seriously, he's not even looking at the ball. But Manshine City has the time and speed. They block every one of Kaiser's possible shooting courses, not knowing that Kaiser has one more. Kaiser switches to Predator Eyes and fires the ball straight into the goal for Bastard München's first point. What Kaiser didn't notice was Isagi watching everything. And it's at this moment that Isagi's own metavision begins to awaken. With his puzzle-like metavision, Isagi reads the whole field and comes up with a crazy plan to score a goal. The thing is, it ends up getting stolen by Blue Lock's so-called fallen hero. Right after Kaiser scores, Manshine City tries to set up something for Nagi. Isagi catches on, steals the ball, and goes for another counterattack. He and Corona speed through the field using smart passes and taking advantage of the spots the other players can't see. Then, Isagi tells Corona to pass the ball to him. Isagi thinks he has everything figured out. He remembers where the goalie was standing, knows where the ball will bounce, and plans to shoot it straight into the top left corner. So he takes the shot. But then, Kaiser shows up out of nowhere and blocks his angle. Isagi still goes for it, but now his plan doesn't work. Instead, the ball lands at a perfect spot where Kunigami can steal it for himself. Needless to say, Isagi is devastated. He wants to destroy Kaiser, and even calls Kunigami a hyena for eating the leftovers of the opportunities he created. Now, the score is 2-1. If Manshine City lets in one more goal, they're done. Nagi knows what's on the line, and this time, he's got a plan. He finally lets go of trying to do everything by himself and calls for Ryo's help. Playing together again, Nagi believes he can finally beat Isagi, which is true, but keep watching, because this particular goal is the very same fluke that started Nagi's downfall. It all started with Ryo, who is getting fired up now that he's playing with Nagi again. Using his chameleon mode, Ryo sets everything up for Nagi, but on their first try, it wasn't enough. Nagi goes for a backheel pass as if telling Ryo that he wants one last pass from him. Ryo knows exactly what Nagi wants, and he goes for it. He kicks the ball for a Neo-Egoist pass that'll let Nagi challenge Isagi in a 1-versus-1. Nagi goes wild with 5 fake volleys. On his 5th one, he hits his 5-shot revolver fake volley that not only ties the score but even beats Isagi's metavision. At this moment, Nagi feels like he's finally crushed Isagi. He's brimming with egocentrism and thinks he's the protagonist of the world. But as Ego says, it was just a fluke. And in the long run, it would mess up Nagi's potential. That's exactly what ends up happening later. Quick timeout. Before we dive into Yukimiya's game-winning goal against Manshine City and go over the rest of the Neo-Egoist goals from Isagi, Baro, Ren, and the others, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to stick around until the end and hit that like and subscribe button. Alright, let's kick off. Now there's only one goal left, and whichever team scores it wins. At this point, Yukimiya is perma-targeting Isagi and is determined to crush him and win the match on his own. That way, he can prove himself before his time runs out. Because with his eye condition, it is truly running out. Yukimiya steals the ball from Isagi and dribbles past multiple defenders all on his own. Entering the flow, Yukimiya unleashes a hard-to-predict gyro shot that even the goalkeeper cannot keep up. Unfortunately for Yukimiya, Chris Prince did. Chris shows the manifestation of his aura, blocks the gyro shot, and calls Yukimiya pathetic. Now, Yukimiya is close to crumbling. A few chapters later, Isagi is working with Corona and Noah using a 3-man planet hotline. Isagi knows Yukimiya is trying to beat him, so he turns that into an advantage. He uses Yukimiya like a piece in his puzzle, and the whole time, Yukimiya is playing right into Isagi's plan. Isagi almost scores, and Yukimiya thinks it's not his moment anymore, but Isagi knows exactly how it will go. Right now, Isagi's challenge is to dethrone Kaiser, so he enters the flow and passes to Yukimiya, who then scores the winning goal with a newly developed shot, the sword screw. What's more, this goal got Yukimiya an offer from Iax, who is also willing to pay for Yukimiya's full treatment, just so they can slow down the progression of his optic neuropathy. But for Yukimiya, he wants them to wait for the end of the Neo-Egoist League before he makes his decision, and for Iax to see if he's still worth it to play for them. But while there's a fraud watch and a free-for-all combat zone happening in Bastard München vs Manshine City, and the game between FC Barcha and Ubers, there's tyranny. Unfortunately, we didn't see how it ended up to this, but I'm sure this game escalated quickly. With a 3-1 score, Baro scored a hat-trick against FC Barcha, who, by the way, only had Bachara scoring 1 goal for them. These goals secured a 100 million yen bid for Baro, and this is setting up the way for the next game. Isagi's lefty direct shot is Isagi's first ever goal in the Neo-Egoist League, and the score that kickstarted another free-for-all session in this match. You see, this whole time, Isagi wanted to score a goal on his own. But because of his teammates, mainly Kunigami and Kaiser, the best he can get is an assist, and Isagi doesn't want it to be like that. Prior to the match, he consults with Kunigami and asks how he can shoot with both feet. Kunigami's answer to that? What are you talking about out of the blue? Disgusting. Well, the reality is that Kunigami doesn't want Isagi to destroy his own specs by training in the wrong direction. For Isagi, he learns that he needs to devise a new weapon that both utilizes his left foot and upgrades his direct shot. Back to the match, Isagi executes a smooth planet hotline with Corona. But there's an obstacle. Ness wants to crush Isagi by any means necessary. And for Ness, that is to cut off all ways where Isagi can pull off a right foot direct shot. Isagi then pulls off his lefty direct shot and surprises everyone with his new weapon. Needless to say, Ness is yapping pitifully when he complains about this new attack pattern, which he has absolutely no data on. Baro's stealth kill shot is his new weapon in the Neo-Egoist League, and it's also the first goal Uber scored against Bastard München. After Baro finally agreed to team up with Snuffy, but on his own terms, Snuffy made a training plan to help Baro improve his mid-range curve shot. Snuffy thought it was already pretty solid, but there's one problem. World-class goalkeepers can still block it, so Barrow develops one more weapon, his Predator Eyes. While Sendo, Nico, and the other Ubers players are spread out on the field, Barrow sneaks in behind his teammates and the opponents to find a split-second blind spot where Gagamaru can't see him. At this moment, Barrow is the predator and Gagamaru is the prey. Barrow watches Gagamaru, waiting for him to let his guard down. Then, Barrow fires the shot right into the net before Gagamaru even has a chance to react. In this match, Kaiser is perma-guarded by Lorenzo, and he cannot look for a play anywhere. But that is, as long as Lorenzo is targeting him. You see, IQ is also shutting down almost all of Isagi's plays. Both Isagi and Kaiser cannot move as freely as they usually can. Fortunately for Isagi, Yukimiya positions himself in a perfect rational spot where he can pass to him. But that turns out to be a mistake. The second Isagi passes the ball, Lorenzo ditches Kaiser and rushes to steal it from Yukimiya instead. And this is exactly what Kaiser had been waiting for. With Lorenzo finally off his back, Kaiser enters the zone, blows past Sendo and Ryu, and fires off a Kaiser impact. This shot hits the ground, slips between IQ's legs, and crashes into the goal. The score is now 2-1, with Bastard München in the lead. At this point, Snuffy steps into the match, and Isagi sends Raichi to mess with Snuffy's game plan. Barrow tries a stealth shot, but it doesn't work because Gagamaru is in the flow and shuts it down. Isagi's also running low on attacking options, and he's starting to feel like he needs a real playmaker on the field to change the game. And then, Barrow does something wild. He ends his deal with Snuffy and takes control of Ubers himself. Here's the thing, Barrow knows that relying too much on his ego won't get him anywhere. Even Snuffy called it out, and Barrow agreed. But Barrow also knows that if he sticks only to Snuffy's system, he'll never beat Isagi either. So Barrow embraces despair and restriction, which are where he performs best, and faces off against Isagi and Kaiser. Now he's got two choices. If he aims for the far post, Isagi can't stop him. If he goes near post, Kaiser's in the way. Barrow doesn't pick either. He pulls off a crazy double nutmeg shot and fires the ball between both of their legs. Even Snuffy helps him out in the end and stops Noah from intercepting the shot. Now that Barrow ties the game, he proves his own method and philosophy to Snuffy and, at the same time, reignites Snuffy's ego as well. Thanks to this goal, Snuffy holds off his retirement plan and decides to play for his own selfishness again. The winning goal from Isagi against Ubers is still one of the craziest moments in the series. This play was like the perfect chemical reaction between Hiyori and Isagi, who pulled off a game-winning play without even making eye contact or planning it ahead of time. It's a clash of peak performances, and it happens because Isagi and Hiyori share the same vision to win, and they moved based on that. It's the goal that really wakes up Hiyori as an egoist. In the middle of the match, Isagi hits a wall and realizes he needs a new piece to win the game. That's why he picks Hiyori and convinces Noah to put him in instead of Kiora. With Hiyori, Isagi now has more options. Hiyori even evolves and becomes an egoist who wants to make the whole game happen with his passes. But even though they successfully linked up, it's not enough. Kaiser manages to block Isagi's shot, which makes it easier for Barrow and Ryu to stop it. But there's still one more piece missing. Then, Hiyori resets their attack, but he's haunted by his parents' expectations. On top of that, he sees Ego's phantom and realizes passing right now isn't what an egoist striker should do. Thinking his shooting ability is what they're missing, Hiyori takes the shot. He misses, but he's right. This is what helps Isagi find the winning formula. Isagi encourages Hiyori to play with him once again. But at this point, Hiyori is ready to say goodbye to football. I mean, the guy's ready to quit. He can't because of Isagi though. Isagi tells Hiyori to go crazy and play reflexively. Hiyori passes through Ubers with sick dribbling and finally reaches the state of egocentrism, or protagonism as some call it. Thanks to his earlier shot, even players like Nico, Ryu, and IQ aren't sure if Hiyori is going to shoot or pass. He's in their heads. Barrow finally shuts down the passing route, but it's too late. Hiyori sends Isagi a no-look pass that leads to the game-winning goal. By the way, if you want to learn more about Ubers, their designs, story, and how the whole team operates, check out this video where we explain every Ubers player in just 23 minutes. After Isagi and Barrow's intense match, the scene shifts to the showdown between Paris X-Jin and Manshine City. And once again, we see new signs of Nagi falling off. At the peak of the match, Ren and Nagi are both chasing after the ball, but Ren beats Nagi to it. Ren's core strength, balance, and overall skills have evolved to the point where Nagi just can't keep up anymore. Even though Kazuma Neo tries to block him, Ren manages to score a goal, making it a hat trick against Manshine City. The score is now 3-1, and while Ren is responsible for all 3 goals, the only one for Manshine City comes from Chigiri and not Nagi. In the next match, Paris X-Jin faces off against FC Barcha, and Ren scores another goal. This time, we see how Paris X-Jin has built a team around Ren, with players like Tokimitsu and Nanase helping create scoring chances for him. The 3 of them work together in a 3 vs 2 situation to get past FC Barcha's defense. Once Charles gets the ball, he passes it directly to Ren. Ren then kicks it with a devilish spinning mid-range shot, which is an evolved variation of his signature curved shot. After that, Loki makes a substitution. He takes Ren out and puts Shido in, while replacing Nanase and Tokimitsu with Karasu and Zontetsu. This sets up the Shido-centered system. Karasu steals the ball from Otoya and quickly passes it to Zontetsu. The two immediately start a counterattack. Charles then gives Shido a fast, hard-to-reach pass, but it's Shido we're talking about. He scores with his demon shot. Moments later, Shido scores again, this time with a header straight into the goal, even though all of FC Barcha's defenders are trying to stop him. At this point, the score is 3-2, and it's clear that FC Barcha was so close to winning. Unfortunately, even with Lavigno coming in and helping out Bachara and Otoya, it still wasn't enough. At the same time as this match, another game is happening on a different field. It's Manshine City versus Ubers, and the score is 2-1 in favor of Ubers, with Manshine City holding on to the ball. You see, Manshine City is really relying on Nagi to win the match for them, but it's not easy. Agi passes the ball to Nagi, and Nagi skillfully dribbles through Nico and Ryu. But when Lorenzo suddenly shows up to block his shot, Nagi hesitates for just a second. That moment of hesitation turns out to be a huge mistake. Nagi finally takes the shot because Ryo tells him to, but Aiku blocks it. Now, Baro has the ball and he's going to score, but Jigiri dashes and intercepts the shot at the last second. The ball, however, goes Sendo's way, and Sendo quickly uses the opportunity to score. And Agi immediately knows what's wrong with his team. Nagi and Ryo are too dependent on each other, which is holding back their own growth, especially Nagi's. Now, we're finally jumping into the match between Bastard München and Paris X-Jin. The score is still tied at 0. Karasu sets up a pass backward to Charles. Charles activates his playmaker eyes and curves the ball right over Isagi and Ren. The pass goes to what Charles calls his ultimate contrarian spot, and Shido starts running toward it. He's not even looking at the ball until he realizes it's heading right to his feel-good spot. Even Charles didn't expect anyone to be there, but just like with Isagi and Hiyori, their winning vision clicks, and their peak performances collide for an ultimate resonance. Shido heads the ball straight into the goal. With Shido and Charles linking up, Noah makes a position change and assigns Kunigami to guard Shido. This is exactly what Kunigami wants. It's the start of Hiyori and Kunigami's ultimate challenges. Hiyori has to beat Charles, and Kunigami needs to stop Shido from making a play with Charles. And both of them pull it off. Hiyori contradicts his thinking over and over just so we can read Charles' contrarian thinking. He enters the flow and perfectly predicts and stops Charles' pass, ultimately giving Isagi a no-look rapid cross. Now this is his peak performance, and Isagi only needs his own and one more. As Isagi breaks through Paris X-Jin, Shido catches up to him, but this is within his expectations. Kunigami beats Shido to the ball and tells Isagi he's paying him back for that half stake they shared before. Kunigami hits his peak performance too and headers the ball to Isagi. Just when things are heating up, Kaiser and Rin try to crush Isagi, but that's not part of his plan. This is Isagi's ultimate challenge. He enters the flow and comes up with a weapon right here and then. Isagi combines his right and left direct shots and executes a 2-gun direct volley to score Bastard München's first goal. And finally, it's now Kaiser's turn, but it's not as easy as he expects it to be. You see, at this point, Kaiser is getting destroyed. He's slowly being crushed by Rin and Isagi, and his Kaiser Impact Magnus is not working no matter how much Ness passes to him. Kaiser is on the verge of destruction. But the thing is, this is actually good for him. Kaiser thrives best at restrictions and despair, not with freedom that Ness usually gives him. He goes back to 0 and reformulates his whole playstyle, which in turn reawakens his true ego. Kaiser discards his status, pride, malice, and everything. After stealing the pass directed to Hiyori, Kaiser passes to Raichi and literally asks for help. Unfortunately, this still doesn't work because Rin intercepts it, but this is a turning point for Kaiser. What's more, Kiora is calmly watching all this time. So Kaiser tries again. He steals the ball from Nanase, and this time, he asks Kunigami for help. Kunigami has no choice but to pass to him. The ball finally reaches Ness, and Ness gives Kaiser a pass to set up for the Kaiser Impact Magnus. But the pass isn't quite right. Kaiser misses it, and the ball lands with Kiora. Kiora thinks about the situation between Kaiser and Isagi. Who's the underdog? The answer? Kiora passes the ball to the perfect spot for the Kaiser Impact Magnus, and Kaiser nails it to score Bastard München's second goal. The fourth goal in this match is a wild one, pure berserker. Rin activates his Destroyer Eyes and clashes with Isagi to score Paris X-Jin's second goal. Up until this moment, Rin, Isagi, and Kaiser have been stuck in a power struggle, like a game of rock, paper, scissors. Rin counters Isagi, Isagi counters Kaiser, and Kaiser counters Rin. But Rin is full of destructive energy. He goes beyond his limits and gets past almost everyone from Bastard München. Finally, he spots an opening to score, but Rin stops himself. He could have easily scored there, but he knows that wouldn't be enough to evolve. Moreover, he needs to surpass Sei's Phantom, so Rin completely resets his attack and passes the ball to Charles. At this point, Rin has become an incomprehensible creature, even for Isagi. He's offering everything, even his life, for soccer. At its peak, Charles sends the ball to a spot where both Rin and Shido can reach it. Rin runs to a point that is too high even for Shido to reach, and he plans to smash it into the left corner using a bounce shot. But even this is still lukewarm for Sei's Phantom. Rin knows he has to go beyond this if he wants to progress. He needs something more. Then, Isagi steps in to block Rin's shot. Rin explodes with destructive impulses and transitions into a free kick mid-air, and Paris X-Jin scores a goal. Now, the score is 2-2. Noah and Loki enter the match, but neither of them scored. Igarashi subs in to stop Rin with his Genius Killer Militia, but his weapon gets countered, and he's ultimately replaced. Meanwhile, Isagi comes face to face with the realization that he's not a genius, and that the entire Genius of Adaptability title is a complete fraud. However, Isagi also realizes that he is, in fact, a talented learner, and he needs to think and play like one so he can crush the geniuses. Like what Kaiser did, Isagi discards all his useless feelings, like his rivalry with Rin, malice towards Kaiser, or even his admiration towards Noah. With this, he's left with a pure desire to win. He unleashes his full awakened metavision, plays as if treating himself as a mere tool or pawn for victory, and strikes a partnership deal with Kaiser. Even before that, Isagi and Kaiser had already formed an impromptu chemical reaction to stop Kaiser's shot, which made it easier for Gagamaru to block the shot. This duo also outplays the genius duo of Rin and Shido, and they get so close to scoring the winning goal. Kaiser gives Isagi a Kaiser Impact Cross Magnus pass, but Rin stops them at the last second, and he awakens Predator Eyes to hunt the connection between Isagi and Kaiser. But at the peak of it all, Ness, who got dumped by Kaiser, gets the luck as the ball lands on him. At this point, Ness has accepted the fact that his Kaiser has been stolen by Isagi, and now he says goodbye to Kaiser and undergoes a sudden awakening. Ness sees this moment as a chance to change. Up until now, he's been passing to make it easier for Kaiser to score, but now he rebels. He gives Kaiser a challenge in the form of a pass. If Kaiser truly is the best in the world, he should come and steal the ball, and maybe they can try together again. However, the player who believes in Ness as an equal is Isagi. Kaiser still sees Ness as worthless, and that costs him. In the end, Isagi receives the ball from Ness, and he ends the match with an insane goal. Isagi is hailed as Blue Lock's Demon King. He ended his contract with Kaiser with one of the sickest trash talks in the series. And now, he's tied with Rin for first place in the final rankings with a 240 million yen bid. At the same time, there's another match happening on a different field. FC Barcha versus Manshine City. Before the match starts, which is a few chapters ago, we see Nagi and Ryo making a plan to ensure their survival in Blue Lock. And so, the game kicks off. Now, Nagi and Ryo's plan isn't to score goals for themselves, but instead make plays for the whole team while showing their value. This means they'll focus on things like post-play or assists. Of course, if the opportunity comes for them to score, they'll take it. For Manshine City's first goal, Ryo passes to Chigiri instead of Nagi, putting the ball right in Chigiri's golden zone. Chigiri then takes the shot and scores with a signature 44-degree Panther snipe. With Manshine City in the lead, Bachara steps up for his team. He dribbles past both Agi and Nagi, and with a quick kick, he sends the ball straight into the net, all without fully entering his monster trance. This goal ties the score at 1-1. After that, Lavigno entered the field, and so did Chris Prince. But behind it all, Nagi realizes that the situation is changing. As he runs for the offensive, Agi once again urges him to play with his own creativity because Nagi hasn't done anything yet. Agi passes to Nagi, and Nagi starts a direct 1-2 evasion pass with Ryo, but Otoya sees through their whole passing pattern. I mean, this guy says he's seen this pattern more than his own parents, but that's why he won't fall for it. Otoya also appeared from their blind spots with his ninja stealth walk, so they didn't expect Otoya to be there. At this point, both Bachara and Otoya are brimming with egocentrism. Lavigno, Bachara, and Otoya link up. Otoya even outplays Chris with his movements, and then he kicks the ball mid-air to score FC Barcha's second goal. And so Ryo is fired up. He's in full chameleon aura mode, 100% egocentrism, and he's excited to make an insane play with Nagi to become the best in the world. Nagi, though, is still struggling to get into the game. He tries to hype himself up, but it just feels forced. Ryo and Nagi charge through the field to get past the FC Barcha defenders, but Nagi cannot shoot. The goal is too far, and he's hesitating. Lavigno then appears to steal the ball from him and give Nagi a reality check. But before Nagi can react, Chris steps in, gets the ball, and ignores Nagi completely. For Chris, it's pointless to invest in players who aren't chasing their true ideals, and that's exactly how he feels about Nagi. Chris passes to Ryo and shouts for him to score. Ryo instantly copies what Otoya did to Chris when he scored. What's more, against Otoya himself, he then kicks the ball mid-air and scores. The score is now 2-2, and with the star change system over, Chris and Lavigno head back to the bench. Ryo scores, but when he realizes what's happening, he immediately apologizes to Nagi. This is when Nagi has his big moment. He realizes that he's been too reliant on Ryo all this time, thinking that Ryo would always be there for him. But now, Nagi knows he has to get fired up on his own too. Nagi declares he's gonna play for himself. He won't pass to Ryo, and Ryo, of course, doesn't need to pass to him either. This isn't what Ryo wanted though. He still wants them to play together, but Nagi is determined that he can't keep relying on Ryo because he's scared of losing him. Now, with this next play, Nagi is going to prove he's worthy of Ryo. As Agi hoped, Nagi taps into his creativity. He steals the ball from FC Barcha and passes it to Agi, who then passes it to Chigiri. Chigiri returns the ball to Nagi, and this continues until Nagi finally reaches the perfect spot to score. He sets up for a fake volley and enters the flow, but Otoya sees it coming, intercepts the ball, and brings in his teammates who know how to shut down Nagi's moves. Nagi crumbles under the pressure. He hesitates, and there's no time to react. Just as Otoya is closing in, Nagi sees Rio. His "on my own" turns into "together." Unlike Baro, Rin, or even Kaiser, Nagi is not ready to offer his life for the goal. Nagi passes to Rio, but Bachara steals the ball midair. He calls Nagi a failure of an egoist and dribbles past Manshine City players, setting up a play with Ignacio Lara. Lara passes the ball back to Bachara, who enters the flow and scores the winning goal. With that, FC Barcha takes the win, and Nagi drops to 24th place in the rankings with a 24 million yen bid. But now that you know about every goal in the Neo-Egoist League, it's time to learn more about the geniuses and talented learners of Blue Lock. Click here to check it out.